for me, it was the fact that it was a mental health charity. So I do a lot of stuff around kind of mental health and the law with other charities, and it's something that's just always been important to me. I had an eating disorder when I was younger, and it's something that's just always been an interest to try and kind of make it, remove the stigma, but also kind of try and make treatment and prevention better.
I've always been involved with sport when I was young. I used to play multiple sports, but football was always the sport for me. And I got snapped up when I was 10 years old from Arsenal. And I was at Arsenal for 10 years, and I moved to Cardiff 2 years ago.
Football's one of those things that in my family it's massive. I had no choice in going to watch football. My dad, Southampton fan, granddad, Arsenal fan,
right.
And my granddad put me in an Arsenal kit. And my dad was like, "That's it."
That tends to be how it works.
He was like, I'll let her make her own choice until I see her in an Arsenal kit.
Yeah.
And then, so I've just always gone to football. I think actually when I wasn't very well, when I was kind of a teenager, that's the one thing I kind of remember is actually still going to football and watching football and being in that kind of for that 90 minutes, you're almost in a completely different world watching it. I don't know if it's the same playing it, but you just kind of, and people that don't like football don't quite get it because it does feel sacred. At that moment, that's the only thing that matters to anyone.
Oh, it's people's lives, isn't it?
That's it, exactly.
People's lives.
And I feel like that's where people have much more open conversations in the crowds. Like my dad, I don't see him show much emotion outside of football.
I think you get a lot of people like that, and you definitely,
with men, that seems to be a space where suddenly, until the whistle goes at the end, people can have those conversations. So I look back and I think actually that's probably where I felt I could talk to my dad and about what was going on with me not feeling well, because it kind of just felt like you're in, the whistle then goes and we forget it ever happened. But for me, it's been a massive part of my life. I say not for enjoyment because Southampton, but
well, definitely at the moment, that's for sure.
But it does give that space, and I think there's still so much stigma, especially around mental health. But I do think when you're in that sacred space as it is, it does kind of, and the more players that talk about it, the more that will come out.
It's a very high pressure job, and obviously like yourself, it's a place for everyone to come and watch and just get absorbed in the atmosphere for 90 minutes or so. And this is exactly the same as the players. You're on that pitch and you're so focused in the game, and you could be thinking about anything before the whistle and after, but when you're on the pitch there, it's literally just when the ball's at your foot, I couldn't tell you what I'm thinking. Just things happen, and it is a very safe space there. And as you said, it's one of them things where everyone goes and it's quite a communal thing. It's a very high pressured job, for sure. But it's very rewarding, so I can never complain.
For me, the way I kind of relax or my release, because obviously my job is pressured in a different way, and I'm, we get a lot of emails, a lot of calls, I'm at a desk all day. For me, getting out on my bike or now going for a run, that's my I can zone out. No one can contact me now, I'm running. And that's when you can clear your head, you can think straight, and that's my quiet time. What's it kind of like when actually your football, which is the thing for some people as a release and running around and exercise, is actually your job? Do you have other things that
so it's football is a 24-hour job, you see. For me especially, only recently have I found that the work-life balance is probably one of the most important things for footballers, but I think for most people, because it just gets you released from the pressures and the thoughts that are going through your head and work. I only realised that actually through my injuries. When I was at Arsenal, I had a pretty steady rise up from when I was 10 up to 16, and then I went full time and I got injured. It was sort of my first proper injury, and you're in an environment where everyone is playing and performing and progressing, and as soon as you get injured, you're like, right, you just stand still. You see everyone progress above you, and then you're just stood there doing nothing. And it can be quite a lonely place because you sort of get forgotten about. The guys who are playing and obviously on the pitch are the main focus. For me, I was very dedicated and I was very professional, so I only really had football. That was my main focus. Everything I did when I went home, it was like, I've got to eat this, I've got to recover because I've got to go tomorrow and train. But I soon found out that was very taxing on the body and the mind. So I was very lucky enough to be at Arsenal, where we had the support of a lady called Kate Green, who's a psychologist there. And I remember going in to see her first time, and did this very simple sort of drill where we were saying just a piece of paper, and you put your circles and what sort of means a lot to you, and what hobbies and things. I remember going in there and having a circle with football and family, and I was sort of stunned. I thought, actually, I'm so focused on those two things that I don't have anything else. So if one goes, then I'm left with just another thing with the family.
Yeah.
So that was sort of an eye opener to me, and I thought, I'm quite an active guy. I like to learn things, and I was like, look, I need to go and do stuff. So I had a passion for music. Family's quite musical, so I was like, right, I'm going to learn the piano. I'm going to learn the guitar. I'm going to learn these things. And ever since that happened, and just over the years, just picking up little hobbies and bits and bobs, it's helped me massively on the pitch as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm going on the pitch and whatever, and when you lose, it's sport. But you go home and you've just got your own sort of space and your own sort of time to get away and think about things that aren't football related or job related. I'm sure it's like your job as well. I'm sure you have things that you can go to that just take your mind off work.
And I think because people see you as lawyer or footballer and think that's it. But if that's all you are for, however many hours a day, then it's just not healthy for anyone mentally or physically. And then you're just ultimately going to crash and burn. And I think that it's good that you have that psychologist, and I think that's great. And I think more people need to kind of have those conversations young, rather than just thinking, oh, it's fine, I'll just work relentlessly, that's what I've got to do, that's what I am. The earlier people can have those open conversations, and I do think it is getting better. I think law is one of those areas where historically it's seen as just get on with it, you must put up with everything, you shouldn't have a life. Definitely now having more open conversations, and same in football. I think the more people speak about that and have those, the better. And then it kind of forces people to think, oh, actually, maybe I'm not feeling that great, or what else have I got? Where is my release? So mine is cycling.
Do you have that support in your offices, or is that something that you do externally? And go, would it be off your own back, or do you have people in the offices that you could go and talk to?
Yeah, so we have kind of mental health first aiders in the office. There's quite a lot of them. So if you're at a point where you just really need to speak to someone, or even if it's not at crisis point, you just want to talk to someone about how you're feeling, you can go to them. We have different EDI teams, and so we've got a mental health and wellbeing one that I head up. So we do loads of different initiatives, and one of them is something where every Monday in a month we pick one and call it Mindful Monday. We'll do something creative to just get us away from our desks, so things ranging from pumpkin carving to pottery painting, but it just makes you use a different part of your brain, because I think we're so used to just sitting and using the same part of our brain, typing away, and then it's doing that creative stuff. So and that's why I love working here, is there's that kind of stuff, just everyone knows the importance of that, rather than questioning why you finishing on time to go off and do that. Tomorrow you'll be in a much better mood because you spent your evening pottery.
That's it. Exactly.
I do think there is that element of, I think, whether it's football or you're speaking to your lawyer, people, I do sometimes forget someone's human and think about the pressures we're all going through. Everyone's had a knockback, or everyone's had a bad day at some point. And I think the stuff that kind of Mental Health Research UK do is, in terms of I think 95% of the money they raise goes into specific kind of projects or PhD students or research things that are actually looking at really changing the way that different mental health issues are prevented and also treated. So they really look at actually involving people with lived experiences and looking at someone who's had a certain mental health issue and how they've come out of it, etc. And when I look back to when I was unwell, there was no real idea what to do to make me better. It was quite easy to fix the physical side effect of having an eating disorder. You just make someone eat and that's fine. And then you get ticked off as fine. But actually dealing with the mental side of it, it's quite clear they still just don't really know what to do.
Did you go and speak to someone when you was going through that time, or was it something you worked out yourself? Or?
So luckily my parents were mental health nurses, so they were much more aware of okay, something's wrong here. And even though at the time I pushed back on it a lot, I mean, I was already a moody teenager, then you add this on top of it, and I pushed back on it. My mum persevered in terms of being like, look, there's something wrong, maybe go speak to a doctor. And I did. And then that, even though the treatment wasn't great, it did get me thinking earlier, okay, there is something wrong, this isn't normal. And then got me kind of at least physically better. And then the kind of mental side of it took way longer, because I think then you kind of get neglected, because they're like, oh, she's fine now, she's not a problem physically, but we don't really know what to do mentally. So I do refer you to kind of psychologists and stuff, or, you know, look at kind of depression. But it's quite clear there's a real gap there of actually understanding it, and this is where kind of this charity will look at kind of actually, you know, plugging that gap and talking to people who've come out the other side, because it is such a complex area. And, you know, I look back and I think there's nothing wrong with anything that anyone did in terms of those professionals, but they just don't know, and they don't have the research to back it, so they're only doing what they're told is the way to fix something. So I think that's why this is so important, is to fund those studies and kind of work out actually how can we prevent but treat, because it's always going to happen. I think whatever prevention we look at, you're always going to have people who do have periods of being mentally unwell, but how do we actually stop that taking over someone's life, and then that's, you know, you've lost that person. It's how do we get them out of it? Well,
the hardest part obviously is talking about it.
The
more people that talk about it, the more people that can help each other, which is exactly what your point is there. It's hard for someone to sit here and have a conversation and think what's going through your head. It's almost impossible. But it's then having people to talk and to then understand you further.
That's it. It's a massive part. It's just breaking that stigma and having the conversation. Say, the more that we've been doing stuff here and just having those kind of, say, those creative Mondays, people are just naturally talking more about it, and then people just feel like if they are feeling a certain way one day, they can have that conversation, and that will stop it spiraling into bottling up, and then it being at a point of it's, you know, catastrophic, and you're having to actually take time off work because it's burnt out. You burnt out to that point. That I think that's the biggest thing. And even, you know, this hopefully will actually get people talking about it, even if someone can't donate. Just thinking, oh, you know, they're sat there talking very openly about this. Why can't I go and have an open conversation with my friend in the pub about how I'm feeling today?
Or at the football. No, definitely. And hopefully this comes across to anyone. Even if it's one person.
Exactly,